Sarah, I'm blanking on your last name.
Stern. Mm-hmm. Very stern.
All right. Hey, good morning again. I'm sure I know all of you on Printing Industry Midwest. And you're at a special presentation of the Finance Executives Council. So we had a little bit of snow this year, and it got in the way of one of our meetings. And so it got pushed here, and we've got a number of people online. We don't have a lot of people in person, but everybody's at their desks. A good percentage of the Financial Executives Council is in attendance today. Looking forward to hearing today's speaker and today's topic, really around leadership. So I'm going to be welcoming Sarah Stern. Sarah is someone who's become highly recommended to me, actually from another PIM member who's already been engaging with Sarah. Sarah is the president of the Family Business Minnesota, has a long 20-year history of leadership training with family businesses. But she does general leadership training as well as entrepreneurial. She's a former lead of the St. Thomas Family Business Center, which is also an entrepreneurial innovation center as well. So she has a broad leadership resume, and I think we're really lucky to have her. Also, in my talkings with our members, EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, is really becoming widely adopted by so many companies. So I'm going to be looking forward to hearing what Sarah has to say and why that's true, and why even small businesses who have wearing a lot of hats and don't have a lot of time have found this to be a very beneficial strategy as they go forward. So without further ado, I hope you're having lunch at your desk and you can put the email away, turn the phone on vibrate, and see if we can connect here and get some value from today's session. Sarah, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for that very flattering introduction and for sharing it exactly the way I recommended. So appreciate that. Like Steve said, I really challenge you to do your best. I know if it was me sitting in your seat, I'm just programmed to sit there and do my email and get as much work done. I'd really encourage you today to, if you haven't already, to download the workbook sent your way. This will be most helpful to you if you print that out or have it on your computer and you really engage with the material today. This is really valuable stuff for your business, and I think the most valuable thing you could be doing today. I've also done my very best to come with my worst jokes, so if you want, I understand you can type comments, so as you hear my jokes, you can rate them 1 through 10. We'll see. I'm going to shoot for as low as I can get with my bad jokes, just to keep you engaged while you're eating lunch. So want to say thank you to PIM. It's really an honor to be here, and I think you should all send in little claps here on the text. Thank you to Steve and this organization for putting this together for you. You're very lucky to have that. And I'm going to start here with this too. I would love for you, I don't know how much interaction you can see with each other, but get on your keyboard. I want you to say goodbye to each other. You know, type it in, say goodbye. Are they actually saying goodbye? Is this a good sign? Maybe?
I can't see that.
Okay, we'll see. Well, hopefully, I want you to say goodbye. It's a little bit silly. There you are on your computer. Good. Yay! Say goodbye. This is... Okay, why am I saying goodbye? Good question. So the reason I'm asking you to say goodbye is if we do our work right over the next hour and a half or so, you should leave this workshop thinking about your business in a different way. You should be a different leader. So say goodbye to each other, really dig in here with this material. And while it's a little silly, I think it's also really serious. I have 2 tools here. I really want to give you different ways to think about your business. And I want to give you really practical tools to help you do that. That's what this is about. There's a book called Traction that's available. You can download it online. I'm talking about a lot of the stuff that's in there, but I'm really going to hopefully bring that material to life. That's what the next hour and a half are about. So let's dive in. This is the first thing I want you to do as far as, hello someone. This is the first thing I want you to do as far as engaging with the material. The first page of that, of the workbook that you got has notes. I want you to take a moment and really think about what is it you want from your business. And there's 2 parameters around that. One is it has to be one thing you want from your business. And I want you to be looking out 5 years or more. So take a couple moments here and think about what's one thing you want from your business, and it has to be 5 years or more. You don't have to share that with everybody else. If you want to, though, certainly do. Get your head around that. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to talk about, so all this material that I'm sharing today is from the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which was created by this great guy named Gino Wickman in Michigan. He started his work as a leader in his own family business. He joined that business, he turned it around, and throughout that process got to know a lot of other business owners. And what he discovered is, if you really simplify the way you think about business owners, there's some who are frustrated and there are some who are not. What he discovered as he noticed this and he has observed this and as he read books about business and as he interviewed and talked with people, is those who were getting what they wanted from their business were not frustrated. They were calm, they were happy, they were focused, they had balance in their lives. Those who were not getting what they want from their business were frustrated. And as you're thinking about what that one thing is that you want from your business, I'm hoping you're not going to write down any of this. I want to talk about those frustrations that Gino Wickman saw in business owners. I see these too. You see them too. I'm sure you maybe even experience them. So first frustration is control. And by control, I mean lack of it. There are business owners out there who just feel like they are not in control of their businesses. That, of course, is frustrating. Second is profit. And if I'm not being clear here, what they are frustrated about is not having enough profit, right? They want more of it. You may be in that same category. You may feel that you just like to have profit for goodness sakes, right? You may feel, well, profit's okay, but I'm trying to squeeze more work-life balance out of my business. But for sure, the business owners who are frustrated didn't have the profit they wanted. Other frustration, people. They've got people around, but they're frustrating. They're not doing what they're asked to do. They're not engaged the way they want them to be engaged. They're inconsistent. They don't feel like the people are helping their business move forward. Fourth piece, the frustrated business owners that I see, that you sometimes are people who feel like they're hitting the ceiling. What I mean by that is you're moving along. You might be working just as hard as you always have, but you're not getting anywhere. You're just banging your head against the ceiling in your business. You're trying things, they're not working. They're just not working. And that brings me to the fifth frustration that I see. There are business owners and leaders that I see out there. They go out and they buy all the business books and they read them and they bring them in and they have their people read them and they try on that tool and they become the flavor of the month business. Nothing is working. It's frustrating. They're not getting what they want from their business. So hopefully by now you've written down and really have your head around what is it, that one thing you want from your business, looking out at least 5 years. And hopefully it's none of these things, right? None of these things at all. So here's what I want to do now. I want to give you this tool. So as Gino Wickman developed this and talked with leaders and read all the books, and as I did this over my own career, sorry, I probably just touched the mic there. I hope that wasn't too noisy. What I have seen is over and over, leaders of small businesses, leaders of entrepreneurial companies, family business leaders, family members have 136 things rolling around in their head at any given time. When you as a leader can start thinking about your business, and I'm going to give you this model here, using this model, those 136 things fall into place. The way you think about people, the way you solve issues lines up. And so what I'd like you to do, you'll see the model on page 3 of your booklet. It's actually, I think it is actually page 3, but for sure page number 3. Please go there. You're going to see there the EOS model, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System model. What Gino discovered, and we're going to spend the rest of this time together walking through this model, and I'm going to give you 2 tools in each area that you see on the model. What Gino discovered is when leadership teams get really clear about where they're headed, where they're going in the business, part of those 136 things start to line up, right? When they get clear about who their people are, meaning that they have the right people in the business in the right seats, things start to line up. Third piece, When they're clear about the data that they need to look at to make sure they're in line for that vision, the business really starts moving forward. Now, of course, once you're clear on your vision, clear on the people you need around to accomplish the vision and what data you need to look at, it'll be obvious to you that you have issues. And I'm just going to ask out there where anybody, I'm in a deep search for the business in the world that has no issues. So if you're that one, would you raise your hand? We all want to meet you. Any responses on that? No. Okay. Didn't think so. I was trying. Somebody told me yesterday they're the business with no issues, and I laughed. But I bought him a cup of coffee too. So anyway, issues. So next piece is process. For a lot of entrepreneurial thinkers, this is not the most fun part of the business. For others, they love it. When you get clear on your process, it's when you dial in your business model. It's when you make the way you do things very predictable and you open up space in your creative mind for fighting fires inside your business. Not literally, hopefully, but metaphorically. Then finally, the name of the book and the name of the game and the thing that business owners want is traction. I'm going to give you 2 tools for each of these pieces, each of these 6 areas of your business. That when you, and I'm going to say this, when you do this work, you start by working with your leadership team. And by leadership team, I mean those 3 to 7 people running the business, the 3 to 7 people at the helm. Some businesses have 1 or 2 people on the leadership team. Some have more than 7. They might have 8 or 9. I find that there's kind of a diminishing returns once you get above 7 people on your leadership team, but that doesn't really matter. What I'm talking about here is, meaning it doesn't matter how many you have today. What I'm talking about here is getting really clear on these tools with your leadership team so that you can ultimately bring it to the rest of your business. This system, this process that, like Steve said, is becoming more and more and more popular, was tested and tried and tested out. And Gino really worked it out. The sweet spot for this system is businesses that have between 10 and 250 employees. That's where most of the companies in the world, and by the way, in the world, there are 250 other people like me around the world who help businesses implement this tool. More than 6,000 companies running on it. Most of them have between 10 and 250 employees. My smallest client, however, has 6 employees now. My largest one is a company that I think they will have 600 employees by the end of the year. That's what they're looking at, right? So there's smaller, there's larger. There are leadership teams of 1. I have a leadership team of 9. So this material, no matter what your size, makes sense for you. I have a friend who runs their company on EOS. She works part-time, yet she uses EOS to run her business. So you could run your business on half of a human on this. So anyway, let's dive in. This super valuable tool around vision. So the first piece of vision is getting really clear on where you're headed. Again, doing that with your leadership team. So there's 8 questions. We talk about 8 questions, answering these 8 questions as a leadership team. And here they are. And if you look at pages 4 and 5 in the handout that you were sent, these are the questions. You see it there. Core values, core focus. So what are your core values? What's your core focus? What is your 10-year target? What is your marketing strategy? Your 3-year picture, your 1-year plan, your quarterly rocks, and then finally your issues. Hopefully you have this, looking at this. We're going to go through this. This is going to be a big part of the time we spend here because it's such a valuable tool. We call it the Vision Traction Organizer. It's a 1-page business plan, if you will, or a 1-page business strategy. You could look at it. You're going to understand this, I'm sure, just looking at it now. I'm going to go through it to help get ahead of some misconceptions about some of these topics or some of these questions that you see here, and also to just really help you wrap your head around how to use this effectively. So first one, core values. Forgive me, St. Thomas. I think you're recording this. They could maybe get access to this. But every MBA program, including St. Thomas, says start with core values. And that, I think, because of that, core values have started to seem weak. They've started to seem silly. Too many businesses are putting up kind of generic core values that are things that they wish they were, things they want to be, things maybe they used to be. When you run your company on EOS, when you use this Vision Traction Organizer, you set up a set of core values that, as Gino Wickman likes to somewhat crudely say, are what you reek of. It's just who you are. Your core values are a statement of what makes you so wacky. It's what makes you who you are. It comes from the leadership team. Typically, the core values in a business even come from the founder. That founder has hired other people like them, who they're attracted to, who they share similar assumptions or ways of thinking. Those are your core values. Those are your core values. Not what you wish you were, but just who you absolutely positively are. Some businesses I see kind of go out and they have a task force and they interview everybody and they use that model to figure out your core values. I'm sorry for those of you who've done that. It's not a great way to identify your core values because they really do come from the leadership team. This is something that needs to be talked about, discussed, and debated as a team. And again, so that you're really engaging with this, and so this is a super helpful workshop for you today, I would like you to go to page 6. There are some examples there. If you have core values for your business, great. Please put them on page 4 in the core values section, at least 3 of them. If you don't, take a look at the examples of core values on page 6 and circle at least 3 and put them on page 4 on that Vision Traction Organizer. Get them on there. Now, of course, you're not at this workshop, at least from what I know, with your whole leadership team, but I want you to just get started in your thinking about this. So core values, they're what you reek of. It's what you are. It's just who you are. I have a client, we did their core values and they had some really, really solid core values in there. It was really who they were. And then we got to the end of the process and it was me or one of the team members said, you know, we're missing something in here. These people are hilarious. They have Monty Python characters in their About section on their webpage. They're really funny people. They're really silly too. And that's what was missing in those core values. We finally added that core value and what it is, I just love the way they said it. They're seriously silly people. They take their work serious. They take being silly serious as well. It's part of who they are. Now, when they articulate that to somebody who they're thinking about hiring, that person gets fair warning, right? If I'm going to work here, I'm going to be serious and we're going to be silly about it. Gosh, it goes so far in helping to prevent hiring the wrong people, right? And we're going to get into more of how we use these core values. So hopefully you have at least 3 core values written in there on your Vision Traction Organizer. Second piece that you see there, that second box, is your core focus. This has been called other things. It's been called Hedgehog Concept by Jim Collins. It's your mission, it's your vision, it's where you're headed in your business. Please forgive me for giving you more language for this, but your core focus, it's called that because it comes from your core. It's just there. It's what holds up the business. It keeps you, oh, exciting. It keeps you from chasing shiny stuff too. And so your core focus is made up of 2 pieces. One is, it's your purpose, cause, or passion. This is why you do what you do. It's why you do this work that you do. It probably has nothing to do with the industry you're in. One of my clients started doing this, and they were a 3rd-generation family business. Way back early in the business, they'd actually started by installing and fixing garage doors. Now, over time, they've changed. They actually make, most of their work is making springs that are used in garage doors and other industrial applications. But they realized, as they thought about what is their purpose, their cause, their passion is opening doors for everyone. So that's true for them as owners, but more importantly for them, they're looking to open doors for their employees, their customers, their vendors, and their clients. That's their why. So give that some thought. What's your why? Why the heck are you doing this, right? What's your purpose, your cause, or your passion? The second piece of your core focus is your niche. And your niche is all about what you're best at. This is a simple statement of what it is you are best at in your business. My personal favorite one is Orville Redenbacher. Can people type in their guesses? Let's see if people are paying attention. Anybody have a guess of what Orville Redenbacher's niche is? Their ultimate best thing, their ultimate strength, their unique superhero power? Any guesses out there? No? It's popcorn. One word, popcorn. That's their niche. Makes sense, right? Usually it makes people laugh a little. It's that simple. Your niche should be that simple. Not everybody's is one word. It could be 7 words, right? But it's certainly not a paragraph. This is your unique skill, the thing you're best at. When you put that purpose, cause, or passion and that niche together as 2 hemispheres of your core focus, like I said earlier, you stop chasing around shiny things, right? How many times in your business has the business just been moving along, everybody's doing great, you're figuring out how to do it, when to do it, how to be profitable, and then this other opportunity shows up and you turn and you go that way, and then before you know it, the whole business goes that way and you're off track. Your core focus is used. This whole thing, this whole Vision Traction Organizer, this is meant to be used in day-to-day decisions. Is that thing we're thinking about in our core focus? If it's not, you shouldn't be doing it. That might be work for someone else to do. Congratulations on identifying somebody else's work. So that's your core focus. Purpose, cause, or passion, and your niche. Third piece there. And this is going back to, yeah, go ahead. You have a question?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because that core purpose, there's no differentiation in that. So can you address differentiation in mission? Because you might have the same word as everybody else.
Okay. Do you think other people can hear that, or should I repeat the question? Yeah. So Steve's question was, with this core focus and your niche, what you're best at, there's no differentiation in that, right? So these people listening today might be competitors, for example, and they're best at X, and maybe other people are best at X as well, right? So often there is differentiation. It might be, I mean, you're thinking a common best thing is printing.
Many of our members would say print.
Right. So ideally, your core focus is more specific to that, a little bit more. So it might be print for small businesses, print for family events, print for XYZ. It might be, I'm just making a guess about your industry, print and design. Others might not be design, right? So I would really have them say, what are we absolutely the best at in that? Thank you for that question. And if the answer is print, great. I'm guessing nobody else has a why that's the same as theirs, right? Is it opening doors for others? Is it building great communities? Is it, I'm trying to think of all the ones that I have. So that is a part of where it's different. And when we get to the marketing strategy, I think that'll help there. But really, really solid question there. So third question here. What is your 10-year target? Go back to the notes section in your handout that you have. Write that in here for your 10-year target. Write what it is, that one thing you want from your business that's 5 years or further out. We call it a 10-year target here because most companies are looking out 10 years. It's just a common horizon that people use. That being said, a family business I started with was turning 114 years after we started this process. They have a 14-year target, which is now a 12-year target. But that's the way they thought about it. Other people say there's no way I can even imagine 10 years from now. It's got to be 7 or 5, but it can't be less than 5. This is kind of your big, hairy, where are we going kind of world. Now let's talk about that marketing strategy. So as you can see, as I hope you're looking in your handout here, your marketing strategy is made up of 4 pieces. All businesses that run on EOS have at least 2, and it's the first 2. So the first piece of your marketing strategy is who's on the list, who's your target market. And this is really important, and I want you to write this down. Your target market is defined as that ultimate, probably customer, I'm guessing, for this group, but customer or client. The one that is absolutely aligned with your core values, that absolutely wants and needs work that's connected to your core focus, and the most likely to help you get to your 10-year target, right? So that's your target market, or that's who's on your list. That's who you spend your marketing time, energy, and money on. And there's 3 things I want you to define about that ultimate customer. One is their demographic, their geographic is the second, and the third is their psychographic. So where are they, who are they, and what motivates them? When you get super clear about that ultimate customer that is absolutely aligned with the top or the rest of your Vision Traction Organizer, you're going to have stronger, better marketing. You're going to have a website that talks directly to them. it's going to be crystal clear to them that you're looking for them. Now, it's not that you might not take a customer who's not on that list, but you're going to spend, again, this is your marketing strategy, right? You're going to spend your time, your energy, your money on them. Some businesses even name that ideal customer or client. And you want to know, are most of them men? Are most of them women? If you know that, write it down. Are they a certain age? Are they in a certain location, a certain county, a certain state? Are they all 100 miles from your office? Who are they? What motivates them? Is it ease? Is it price? Is it accuracy? What is it? Do they love working with a family business? If they care deeply about that, you ought to tell them you are one, if you are one, right? That's the first piece. Then this is where a big differentiator comes in, I think. So once you're absolutely clear about that perfect customer or client, you define your 3 uniques. And I would guess for the listeners of this webinar, for sure 2 are going to be the same, probably for most people. I mean, it's going to be, well, I could make up 1,000 things, but on time, accurate, right? I mean, there's going to be something like that, I'm guessing. But when yours is, what are the 3 things that ultimate customer is looking for and wanting and motivated from that you provide and that you can and do provide over and over? That's where you differentiate yourself. That's where you can really differentiate who you are as opposed to someone else doing the same or similar work. If you absolutely can't come up with that unique piece, I would just encourage you to keep looking because it's there. It's absolutely there. I'm going to go a little more quickly on the second 2 pieces of marketing strategy. The third piece down there is proven process. That's not your internal marketing and sales process. That's a process that you would put in front of a client or a customer and say, this is what it's like to work with us. I'm just going to make a guess. Most people don't need that. People understand how to work with the companies in your organization, I think.
Well, a lot of them are adding new services.
Okay.
That require a different process.
Okay.
And maybe a different buying methodology.
Okay.
So
okay, so there may be.
That ability to change your process and train your people.
Okay. Well, yes. And so of course we're going to talk about processes. Of course you'll have internal processes, but as you change or add the services that you're providing, if you're adding promotional, if you're adding design, it may be that you're saying to a customer, phase 1 is this, phase 2 is this, phase 3 is this, phase 4 is you're happy and tell all your friends about us, right? That's of course the phase 4 you want. People don't typically put that in their process except in invisible ink. So ha 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 ha, that's where everybody's laughing in their offices and people are wondering why. So anyway, that's what I'm hoping for anyway. But you can rate that joke. Oh, it's probably a bad one. Anyway, any ratings for my bad joke? We'll get it. So that's process. Fourth one, you can see it on there as guarantee. You never have a guarantee if you're ideal. Did anybody rate it? A 1. Fair enough. Invisible ink. Okay, good. Invisible ink jokes are always good. Okay, in my book. So now I'm lost. Oh, guarantee. So you give a guarantee based on that target market, that target list. Would that be important to them? If it is, and you can deliver a guarantee, then deliver one. 50% of companies don't have one, don't need one. So I'm going to try out this joke here. I've been working on this. Okay. So I don't know the age of the people out here, but if they're like me, they remember Domino's had this guarantee. I think it was your pizza's to you in a half hour or it's gone. Or I mean, it's free. Which was great because my understanding is their target market was like college students with the munchies and they want that thing now, right? So really solid guarantee for their target market. Unfortunately, their drivers started rolling through stoplights and red lights and hitting pedestrians and doing dangerous things. So they had to get rid of the guarantee. But I think that's kind of funny. Okay. Yes. Oh my gosh. That's going to get at least a 1.1. Okay. Woo. Rocking it. Okay. Now, no jokes for the 3-year picture, but let's talk about this. Your 3-year picture is this. You can see it on there. This is revenue. This is profit. This is measurables. This is maybe 15 bullet points about where the business is going to be. Your 3-year picture must be connected to that 10-year or that 5 or the 14 or what you wrote down. Here's where this is helpful. We don't do really big, complicated financial modeling and all this stuff and say, here's 1 year, here's 2 year, here's 3 year, and in July, this is going to happen. Good grief. Who lives in a world where they have time, money, education to do any of that, or where you can even make a guess. I mean, I don't even think those things ever come true anyway. What we do is say, where do we want to be? Where do we need to be in 3 years to hit that 10-year? And here's my example for this. Someone did a study where they had people partner up. They gave each of them, each person, a list of 100 simple songs. So Happy Birthday to You, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, things like that. Do you know about this research? They had one of them tap out the song on the table with their thumb, right? So Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The other person is listening to that. They're looking at a list and trying to guess what is it that they're playing with their thumb. The average accuracy rate on that, we should see. Do you have any guesses? Let's see if anybody else has guesses. How many songs did they get right? You guys want to take a guess? Yeah. Half, 50%?
I got a 75%.
75? Okay. 6%. People can't hear it. So when you're running a business and you say, here's where we're going, can't you see what I'm saying? First of all, isn't that funny? Because they can't see it, because there aren't words coming out of your mouth, right? So they can't see it, but they literally can't see it. When you write it down in the 3-year picture that you have there, then they can see it. Otherwise, you're just doing thump, thump, thump when you're talking about where the business is headed. The 3-year makes it so their percentage goes way up above 6, right? They understand where the business is going. That's the 3-year picture. That's the last piece on the top of your vision traction organizer. That's the vision for your business. When you get clear on that with your leadership team and you start communicating that throughout your organization, people understand where you're going. They understand how their day-to-day work connects to the future of the business. Let's go down to the second half of that vision traction organizer. You see 3 questions down there. What is our 1-year plan? What are our 90-day rocks? And what are our issues? So probably pretty obvious, but I'm going to go through those quickly. Your 1-year plan, and you can see on there are 7 boxes. Any business that has too many priorities has no priorities. Patrick Lencioni, awesome author, said that. Any business with too many priorities has none. So what you do when you build that is you look at that 3-year picture and you say, what are the most important 7 or fewer goals? These are goals. This isn't a picture. These are absolute goals. What do we need to accomplish in the next 12 months? Some teams like to look at that and they say, okay, we're going to shoot for the stars and be thrilled when we hit the moon. That's a fine way to think about it. Others say we're shooting for the moon and actually this part of the moon. I don't care really which philosophy you use, as long as everybody on the team's using the same one, right? If everybody's saying stars, we'll be happy with the moon, then you're all shooting together. I will say this though, when you decide to say we're shooting for the moon, as a matter of fact, this part of the moon, it becomes easier to solve issues. You know, if you say we're shooting for the stars, you hit the moon or you don't hit the moon, it's harder to see what went wrong, where'd you miss. Whereas if you say moon, and then you either hit the moon or don't hit the moon, you can get a lot more clear on what kept you or got you there. So again, up to you, your philosophy there. But it's 7 or fewer things for the entire business. The entire business, 7 or fewer goals for the entire business in 1 year. The way we help businesses get there is this next piece. It's quarterly rocks. And I love this part. Rocks come from, I think Stephen Covey kind of coined this term at first, and then Vern Harnish made it more popular. You can see videos of people describing this all over the internet. I'm going to describe my favorite one since I came out of St. Thomas. There's this professor, first day of class with college students, with a glass jar and some rocks and some pebbles and some sand and a beer, which of course gets the students' attention. He says the rocks are, this is a picture of your college experience, your education experience. The rocks are homework, or I'm sorry, the rocks are classes, the pebbles are homework, the sand is your extracurricular activities, and the beer is your social life. What he says is, if you put in your extracurricular activities first, the sand, and then try to pile the rocks and the pebbles on top, they are not going to fit in the jar. They just don't, right? You put those rocks in first, the pebbles will fit around it, the sand will fit around the pebbles, and then you'll have plenty of time to have a beer with a good friend. That one should get at least a 3. Okay, that's rocks. we do that. We call them rocks because it's a lot more fun to say rocks than priorities or goals, right? So it's kind of a fun thing to say. There's a metaphor with rocks and all that. But the reason we break a 1 year up into 90 days, so a rock is what you're focusing on for the next 90 days. The most important things to move the business forward in the next 90 days. The reason we do that is because we're humans. I don't know why, but we just sort of get disconnected from goals after about 90 days. It's just the way it is. Let's sit down and work with a leadership team, and as they're walking out saying goodbye to me, they're energized, they're excited, they absolutely know what's going, where they're headed, why they're doing it. I see them 90 days later, and over the last week or so, they're just lost. It's just how they are. If any of you work out regularly at a fitness club, probably this time of the year, you're starting to notice the crowds are getting thinner. Anybody noticing that? It's because a whole bunch of people make New Year's resolutions that they're going to lose that 10 pounds, right? And then 90th day of the year is coming up. My favorite day, April 1st, is approximately one of my favorite holidays coming up here. So by the middle of March, people just lose track of that. A way to actually accomplish your New Year's resolutions is, I say, a New Year's resolution, an April Fool's Day resolution, a July 4th resolution, and maybe a Halloween one. That's the way to actually accomplish those goals. This is the business version of that. Last piece that you see there, the last question, issues. That is, what will get in the way from 1 through 7, the answers to 1 through 7 being true in our business? What are the issues? What are the issues? Another thing that can go on an issues list is, what is that big idea that would make it all come true, right? What's that thing you need to figure out or decide so that it all comes true? That is the first piece of vision. That's the first tool I'm giving you. Really, really valuable tool. And meant, again, I had you fill out pieces of that here with just your own brain, but that's meant to be filled out with your leadership team. So 8 questions, that's the first piece. Second one, second tool here is shared by all. Are we gonna get it? There it is, yay. We're unstable, love it. So here's what shared by all is. You answer those questions and then you share it with everybody in your business. When businesses run on the entrepreneurial operating system, ideally what they do is sit down with all of their employees 4 times a year, so once a quarter, and they share the answers to those questions, right? They talk about their core values, which we're going to talk about a little bit more here. And they talk about, and this is every quarter, these are our core values, this is just who we are. And then they talk about, here's where we've been, here's where we are today, and here's where we're headed. They do that quarter after quarter, and then it gets shared by all. Some smart marketing person, I think in the 80s, discovered that people don't hear a marketing or a sales message for the first time until they hear it for the 7th, right? We've heard this before. Actually, I think that's gone up quite a bit with phones in our hands and computers and all this stuff, right? But we'll just go with 7. Part of your role as a leader, when you're thinking about sharing this message with your people, is instead of being frustrated and saying, I have told them this 3 times, why don't they get it? Now your attitude is, well, I've only told them 3 times, 4 more to go, right? Then they're going to get on board. Safety messages, they better be on board right away, right? But these kind of cultural big strategy pieces, you say it over and over, and that's baked into this. And one of the ways you do that are these quarterly state of the company meetings that our businesses have. So that's vision. Let's talk about people. So first tool here is you've got to have the right people in your business. That's just really important. You all know it. It's true. But how do you do it? This gives you great tools. So let's look at the tools for how to have the right people. You will have, I believe it's on page 7, yes, a tool called the People Analyzer. Here's how you use the People Analyzer. So here's what I want you to do. And I know this is a little bit crude, or not crude, harsh language, but I want you to put 2 names in there on the left of your People Analyzer. I want you to put your best person in there, and I want you to put your worst person in there. Just put their names in. You don't have to share this with anybody. Put them in there. And if you're really brave, and I'd encourage you to be brave, put yourself in there. So 3 names max: best person, worst person, your name. And then across the top of your People Analyzer, I want you to take those 3 core values that you have at the top of page 4. So on your Vision Traction Organizer, those 3 core values that you identified, and put them across the top like this. This business has an example: humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, and do what you say. hopefully for you and for time here, have at least 3 up there. Then you have the names of your people. Here's how you analyze them according to your core values. If that person mostly shows that core value, they're going to get a plus, like Sally Jones here. She mostly exhibits those core values, way more often than not. John is a different story. He mostly does not exhibit those core values. So that's how you do it. Think about your best person, your worst person, and yourself. If you're saying, well, I don't know, sometimes yes, sometimes no, then give them a plus or minus. That's how you use this. You're identifying, are these people the right people for our business? When they're aligned with your core values, they're a right person. When a higher and higher percentage of your people are aligned with your core values, that's what builds and reinforces your culture. Isn't it amazing? It's simple, it's clear, and it helps you understand, like, gosh, they're mostly great, but it's this one core value thing, right? Then you can have a much more clear conversation with someone. Here's the next piece, because nobody's perfect. You create a bar in your business. So they have to be above a certain bar to be in the business, right? In this example, and this is what I usually say, if you have 5 core values, at least 3 need to be pluses. And you're not going to do a minus for anybody. So their bar here is 3 pluses, 2 plus minuses, right? If you have 3 core values, I would recommend 2 pluses, 1 plus minus. No minuses are acceptable. And ideally, you want it to be all pluses for your people, because again, you're increasing the amount of people who fit with your core values. That's also why we don't have core values that are things like integrity, honesty, customer first, because you have to do that to be in business. Your core values are absolutely who you are. It's the personality, it's the culture of your business. You make that very clear. This is your seriously silly up there. So that's who. That's right people in your business. Second tool here is you have to have people in the right seats. And you've heard it before. Jim Collins said, right people on the bus, right? You've heard this all over. The problem is nobody says, well, how do we do it? This gives you a tool for how to do it. And this is the really, really valuable tool. It's called an accountability chart. You can see it, see a drawing or a picture of one on page 8. We start with the basic idea that all businesses have 3 key functions. So they have a sales and marketing function, right? They're bringing in those customers. They have an operations function. They're making the product. They're giving the service, right? Providing the service. And then they have a finance function. They're paying the bills. They're paying their people, right? We start with that basic assumption. Then we say every business has someone who's keeping the trains running on time, right? We call that the integrator. They're integrating the functions of the business. Now, in your business, sales and marketing might be separate. There might be 2 different parts of operations. Sometimes finance and IT are separate. You get to do that. I mean, I'm not going to tell you this is how your business is, but we start with that basic idea. The other piece is half of the businesses that run on EOS also have a visionary. I want to talk a little bit about that visionary and integrator piece. Integrators tend to be people who run on logic. You even see that in here. Integrators, they tend to run on logic. They often own the business model. They own the P&L. They own special projects. If there's a tie that needs to be broken in the business, they do it, right? They're the ones keeping things going. The visionary is typically the person who has really important relationships with customers, clients, vendors in the community. They tend to have their pulse on the industry. They see what's coming. They tend to also have 20 ideas, 19 of which are not great for the business, right? So the integrator sorts out and helps them sort and not chase around every single idea. So typical visionary is that tons and tons of ideas. Typical visionary is not a very good leader. They're a great leader. They're not a very good boss. They're not good at holding people accountable. They're not good at consistency. They tend to be a little more on the emotional side. That integrator then runs the heck out of the business while the visionary has these ideas and big relationships. That relationship is so, so powerful when it works well, and it's so important. Very few people who are naturally visionaries are great integrators. Very few natural integrators are great visionaries. Some people can do both, but Gino Wickman says it's 5% of people. You got to find someone to balance you out if you're one of those people naturally. So that's how we do it. We actually, when I start with my clients, in the first hour and a half of the first day, I fire everyone. I elevate them to board of directors and say, if we could control, alt, delete this business, how would we build it? We take all the people out of it. We say, what's the right structure moving forward? What's the right structure moving forward? And then, as you can see there on page 8, we build in what is each seat accountable for. So if this function name that you see here is sales and marketing, then you put 3 to 7 bullet points for what they're accountable to get done. So not a 3-page job description. I can't stand those. They're always out of date, and you can always parse words. This is what are they accountable for. You can see in the example, sales and marketing. LMA is leading their team. They're accountable to hit the sales and revenue goal. They're accountable for selling and marketing and the sales and marketing process. That captures what their job is, right? That's really clear. That's what they do. There's a whole bunch of stuff included in that. When you've got these right people running around the business that you use the people analyzer on, then when you have really clear roles that are based on what people are accountable for, you ask yourselves, do those right people get the job? Do they want the job? Do they have the capacity to do it? Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? When you have right people, when you have the right seats and you match those right people with the seat where they are uniquely skilled, they get it, they want it, and they have the capacity, that's right people, right seat. So go back to your accountability chart. Add on there, get it, want it, capacity across the top. This tool, use that here with your best, your worst, and yourself. And get it, want it, capacity, it's either yes or no. Do they get it? Yes or no? Do they want to be there? Yes or no? Capacity. Do they have the emotional, spiritual, intellectual capacity to do that job? Get it, by the way, is do they just get it? You know how there's jobs you just get, jobs you just don't get? If Excel is included in my work in a day, I can get it done, but I'm going to be way slower than somebody who gets it, and they're going to do a heck of a better job. I can do it, right? But that's just a perfect example for me, right? Some other people who get it on Excel are going to go, and it's done, and they're energized. I'm going to fumble around and be tired when I'm done with that, right? So that's get it. Want it? Do they want to be there? Capacity, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, even capacity to do the role. When you use that tool, it's crystal clear if you have a right person in the right seat. I want to talk about those people that you have, because hopefully you're not just eating your Subway sandwich or your chili, right? And checking your email. You're really thinking about your people here, and you're probably thinking, oh gosh, I have a person who's absolutely aligned with the core values. They fit in the culture, but they're not in the right job. Guaranteed, all of you have or have had at least one, probably many of these over the time. If you're family businesses, some of your family members might be these people. They fit with the culture. They grew up. They swept the floor when they were 3, right? But they're not in the right seat. They're not performing. They're not happy. You've got an Excel person in a non-Excel job or vice versa. That's a really important thing to solve. You can't let that go. When you have a person in a wrong seat, a right person, wrong seat, it kills them. It kills everybody around them. They're not happy. They're not productive. They're probably complaining. They're probably not efficient. You have to solve that problem. You have to get them into a right seat. And I don't mean adding, just, cramming a seat into your accountability chart. I mean really finding a right place for them. And if that seat isn't in the business, find them another seat. Find them another seat somewhere else. Help them do it. Pay them a severance. Give them time to go get it. They will be happier. You will be happier. You must solve that. Second thing, you probably have some names in your head. They're good at their job. They get it. They want it. They have the capacity. They might be the best at it. They might be the most accurate. They might sell the heck out of the top salesperson, right? But they don't fit with your core values. They're not part of your culture. They're not part of who you are, right? I'm sure you have names. I hope you're not emailing, especially not that person right now. You should probably be talking, not emailing with that person, right? You have to solve that too. And I don't mean you should get done with this webinar or even unplug from it now and go out and start kicking people out of the business. I mean, you have to have a sit-down conversation, right? Core values are something that should be talked about. If somebody's not aligned with that, it's fair game to say, we need to see change here. We need to see change here. Really important. And I don't care what their last name is. I talk about Aunt Matilda here. Every family business I know has an Aunt Matilda stuck in their business somewhere. You have to deal with it. It makes Thanksgiving dinner hard the first year and better every year past. I guarantee I've seen it over and over and over. People know when they're not the right fit. If they're not saying it, it's your job as a leader to say it. So that's people, people, right seat. So important, so valuable. Let's move on to data. I'm going fast here. Wish I could go slower. First piece is scorecard. You have an example in your notes, in your handout. Page 10 is a scorecard. Here's how a scorecard works in EOS. You have 5 to 15 numbers that you run your business on. 5 to 15, that's it. 5 to 15 numbers. Each number is looked at every single week. Each number has a person who's accountable to hit it. You know, so that sales and marketing leader, they probably own the number of new leads in a week, the number of sales, right? They're accountable. Of course, they have a team, but they're the set of eyeballs that the integrator looks into to say, why is that number off? Each has a goal for the week, and that weekly goal rolls up to that one-year plan, right? We have to do this week over week over week to hit that one-year plan that we have. And then, as you can see, the company scorecard, the way we do it, when you look at it weekly, once you get to the 13th week, you always have rolling 13 weeks, and you can watch trends. You can see how things are changing, if things are trending up, if things are trending down. That's a scorecard. That's a really powerful way to look at your business. And again, it's 5 to 15 numbers. The way we like to think about it, look on page 11. There are some examples there, but this is how we build that scorecard. We say, if you're out on an island, for me, it would be a cool island. For some people, it might be a 100-degree island. I don't do that, right? So you're out on an island, you're on vacation, you're very comfortable. You can get one communication from the business every week, and it's that scorecard. Look at page 11 and circle, what are the numbers you'd want to get to know you can stay on the island? The things you circle are probably going or should be leading indicators. It's the things that when you see them trending up or down, you know the business is in good shape or something's going awry. Circle 3, 4, 5, no more than 15 on there. Or you may have numbers that come up and you say, that's the number I'd want to see. 5 to 15 numbers max, numbers you can look at every week. By the way, some of these numbers you don't have the ability to get it right now, or it might be hard to get it. You should get it. You should really get these numbers that help you understand, is the business aligned with where you want it to go? Take a couple moments on that. This, of course, deserves way more than 2 minutes of time. And I want to give you all this really valuable stuff. So again, just give that a couple minutes or a couple more moments to think about, to circle what you think you'd want to see on that island. And then, well, here's some examples of them. The second tool with data is measurables. What that means is that when you run your business on EOS, eventually all of your people have a measurable. Every single person's name is on a scorecard like that that's looked at every single week. They understand crystal clear what they need to accomplish every week to keep the business on track. I mean, it's so comforting. Imagine you've got a number and all of your people have at least one number. When they hit it, they know the business is doing well. They understand they're doing their part. Most people want to do their part for the business, and they want it to be clear. They want it to be clear. I get this question sometimes like, oh, should I fire my cousin? I don't know. Well, you pull out that people analyzer and you pull out the scorecard. And if the people analyzer says wrong person or wrong seat, and if their numbers are off, it's not personal anymore while you're talking to your cousin about why they shouldn't be there. It's numbers, right? It takes personal out of it. When any business runs on EOS, but especially I see when family businesses do, it's your commitment to the process that makes the reason you have a hard conversation, and it stops being, well, you were always mom's favorite, or you always got the best this, or or you were always a jerk growing up and now you're a jerk in the business, or whatever. You were always bossy, right? It takes a lot of that out and says, we're running on EOS. These are the numbers. Your numbers aren't there. Or, yeah, wow, your numbers are amazing. Maybe you do deserve that raise that you keep telling us you think you deserve, right? It takes the hunches and the egos and the guessing out of it, and you start looking at black and white, you look at numbers, and you really understand where the business is headed. So data, those two tools, scorecard and measurables. So like I said earlier, when you get really clear about your vision, when you're super clear about the right people to get you to that vision, and then the data that you need to get there, this is going to become quite obvious what your issues are, right? Of course you know now, because none of the people in this group, sadly, are that magical company with no issues. I was hoping this was the one. But now, when you're clear again about your vision, your people, and your data, you'll be better at identifying what those issues are. You'll be more clear, right? You'll say, okay, that person is a core values issue person. That person is a get it issues person. Go to page 12, please. This is a really important sheet. And I realize I say really important for all these because I only brought the most important, most valuable tools here, but issue solving track. This is how you solve your issues. So the two tools here, the first one is an issues list, making the list. It's so cathartic to write down your issues. Just say, even if it's an issue of your own behavior, just to put it out there. Again, this isn't personal. It's saying, these are the things getting in the way of our success, right? I like to say your issues list is your playbook for success. If you can solve these issues, you're on track, right? So that's the first piece. And then what you see there on page 12 is how you handle the issues. Do you know Wickman actually created this in a fit of rage because he at first only had people identifying issues and they would talk and talk and talk and discuss and discuss and discuss, but they wouldn't get to solve. They wouldn't get to what are we doing about it. And so this is this tool he created. It's called IDS. You IDS your issues list. IDS is identify, discuss, solve. That's what you do with your issues list. First step is you put all your issues up on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper. Then you prioritize them 1, 2, and 3. Not what are the quickest things to do or the top of the list, but what are the most important issues you see on that list. So most important issues, 1, 2, 3. Then you go to 1 and you identify what is the root cause of this issue. The way it's written might be side effect stuff or not really getting to the root cause of the issue, right? We might say, so-and-so in production is not a good employee. Okay, well, what's the root cause of that issue? Oh, they're not a core values fit. They're not a help first kind of person. Then you can discuss the root cause instead of just this like big question of, oh, they're not so good, right? Then you only discuss the root cause. When you focus your conversation on that root cause, of course, other issues are going to come up. Great, stick them on the issues list. It keeps you from being tangents and an hour over here and an hour over there. And what about this? And what about cousin George? And da, 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 da. It's only talking about that person in production who's not a core values fit, right? So that's identify, really getting clear about it, and then discuss. And if you're anything like so many businesses I know, you're probably good at discuss. I mean, you'll identify an issue and you'll discuss it. You'll stay after work to discuss it. You'll stay late. Then you'll get on your cell phones and talk about it on the way home. Kids are in the back seat. You're throwing French fries at them, trying to get them to soccer, and you're discussing something, right? You feel great because look at your commitment to your work, right? Then you think about it all night. Maybe you're up at 2:30 in the morning emailing about it, and you get an email back at 4, and aren't you committed to your work, right? You're discussing it. Probably even, you discuss it so much. Oh, let's go back. Oh, good grief. Well, how do I do it? Well, there. You discuss it and discuss it to the point that you feel like you've solved it, but all you've done is discussed. It's funny, that sounds like disgust. Disgusting. It's disgusting. Oh, I'm going to use that forever. So identify, discuss. Here's the name of the game, and I'm going to talk about the meetings you use to do this. You identify the issue, and you discuss it with the people in the room who you need. All the people, not more, not less. All of you put your ideas on the table. If you find yourself repeating what you're saying, you're politicking. Don't do that. You just repeat. Oh, yes! Awesome! That one got a 10. Yay, me! Good. So, and yay, you. Thank you, number 10 person. So, you get all the ideas out there. You talk about it. It becomes pretty clear what the solve is typically. Not always, but typically. And then you solve it. If this issue is that guy in production is not a core values fit, you discuss it, you identify what the core value is. The solve is probably going to be whoever is their manager in this room needs to go have a conversation with them. That's probably the answer. And, get them on a plan for improvement. That's probably the answer. The solve is a to-do. It's something that can be done in a week. And we're going to talk about the meetings and how you watch that accountability and help each other stick to that. That's solve. Solve is almost always a to-do. Every once in a while, a solve is, there's nothing we can do about this. Let's stop wasting our time and energy discussing it. Every once in a while. Every once in a while. That's the answer. Or we're just going to have to live with it, right? Every once in a while. Usually it's a solve in the form of a to-do. And again, we'll talk about what we do with that. So that's issues. Issues list and IDS, that issues list, using the model on page 12. Let's go to process. So first piece is documented. You see, well, every business has, right, a people process. Whether they have it written down, they have a way that they bring their people in and take care of their people and get rid of their people. This is about identifying the process and writing it down, 80%. This is not like standard operating procedure. It's not when you're going to hire somebody, all the directions for how to post the job. It's not that. It's not that. It's saying we have a people process. We have a marketing, a sales, operations, accounting, customer retention. We have these key processes. You have maybe a few operations processes, maybe a few accounting processes, and then you identify just the basic steps of that. That's the beauty of it. It's simple. It's clear. You can get kinks out of the system when you do that. Like, oh, we thought it got handed over to operations at this point, when somebody else thought it was earlier. We just discovered, I'm hoping for a 10 on this one, but I'm probably going to get it grown. We just discovered at our house, so this is not a business, this is our house, we had a process problem in the morning. 2 weeks ago, my husband was taking the kids to school instead of me. And the night before, he said, okay, what time do we leave? One kid said 6:55, the other one said 7:05. And now I understand why me and one kid are sitting in the car at 6:55 every morning waiting for 10 minutes, right? You probably have those failures, I hope, in your lives too, right? So think about that in your business. When you just make it clear, this is when the handoff happens. This is how it happens. This is how this process goes. That's the first piece. So you document them. Second one is you want all of your people to follow it just the same. An example of that, I had a client, they had one process when sales handed off to operations when it was a small job, and then another one when it hit, when it was a larger job. There were 3 salespeople. One of them, the way they would communicate it is they would stand up and yell, "We got a whale, woo!" and everybody would cheer. But interestingly, operations was not in the same room, so operations was not getting informed. Another person would, just like when they got around to it, send an email. And a third person would actually send an email and inform everybody. Well, that was the right process, right? But they hadn't figured out why this wasn't happening until they wrote it down, and it became followed by everyone in the organization. This is simple stuff, and it makes a huge, huge difference. So that's process. Let's get to traction here. So first one is rocks. We already talked about them. Those 90-day priorities, those things that help you stay focused on moving the business forward. When you run your company on EOS and when you're gaining traction, all of your people have a rock. Every single person lives in this 90-day world where they have something they're focusing on for the next 90 days. I had a client that was a logistics company. They had 200 drivers, and they thought having rocks was a good idea, but they didn't know how they were going to do that with their drivers. It took them several quarters before they realized they were trying to get their drivers to go from a paper tracking process to electronic. So, and you don't always assign rocks. I mean, ideally people are part of making their own rocks, but with 200 drivers out there, they said, okay, drivers, we're going to give you 90 days to get from paper to electronic. They'd been trying for 6 months to get that to happen. It happened because the drivers got to drive when they would do it in that 90-day world. Now they see the value and they look forward to and they're ready for their next set of rocks, right? They know, and it's one thing, and they have autonomy about how it works. Really valuable. Think about your people. What if everybody had at least one thing they're focused on? Maybe getting an efficiency number from here to here, or here to here, and be higher, right? Accidents down, right? Waste down. One thing they're focused on for 90 days. So valuable. So that's the first piece of traction. Second one is, meetings. Anybody want to have an accidental internet problem and jump out because I just said meetings? Yes, probably you do. So these, however, are world-class meetings. Thank you for laughing. I mean, people are like, oh, are you serious? These are world-class meetings. Look at page 14. Seriously, don't just burn it. Don't rip it up. Give it a chance. Look at it. So these are, and if you're, well, especially if you're in Minnesota, but really anywhere, you might hear this lingo out there. People talking about their level 10s. How are your level 10s? This is a level 10. I'm going to walk you through what in the heck people are talking about when they say a level 10. Look, please, at page 14 and take notes on here. This is how to have a world-class meeting. I'm going to describe for you what it would look like with your leadership team. As you go deeper into the organization, the meetings might be shorter. They might not have all the pieces, but everybody in your business is going to have this meeting, a weekly meeting that increases accountability. It increases traction. It actually increases health on your team because you're looking at each other and solving issues. So here's how it works. Same day of the week, same time, every single week, every single week, every single week, same time, same day, then there's no reason not to be there. Gino Wickman likes to say, the only reason to miss one of these meetings is for vacation. You should get to do that. Or a funeral, like your own funeral. That's the only reason to miss it. I do have a client who says, wait a minute, if I don't go to my friends' funerals, they won't come to mine. It took me a week to really get how hilarious that was. Anybody want to rate that joke? I think that one's really good. I'm embarrassed it didn't really take me a week. It took me a couple hours where it's like, oh yeah. Anyway, no rating on that one. Bummer. Okay, anyway, so same time, start on time. Vince Lombardi on time. 5 minutes before the meeting, you're in the room, you're goofing around, you're joking, you're making fun of Sarah's bad jokes about funerals. Exactly at the moment the meeting is supposed to start, it starts, and you do 5 minutes of good news. This is a seg from working in the business to on the business. This is also a reminder of what's going on that's great, so take notes on this. Good news is everybody in the room shares the best news in their life, personally and professionally, since the last meeting, which was a week ago. So it's a reminder that you're humans working with humans, right? And a reminder that things are going well. Best news, personal and professional, 5 minutes. Then you go through that scorecard, those 5 to 15 numbers that I showed you before. There's a goal, right, each week. So you go through it. If those numbers are missed, you drop them down to the IDS section, to the issue solving time. You don't talk about it. You don't have to come. If you miss your numbers, you don't have to come with an excuse or an explanation. You miss your numbers, it goes to the issues list, just like that. It probably doesn't even take 5 minutes to go through the scorecard. Then you go through the rocks, right? Those 7 or fewer most important things for the business this quarter. Everybody has one, their name's connected to it, to at least one, and everybody reports they're either on track with that rock or they're off track. You don't have to say, I'm 85.7% on track. I worked at Target, things like that happened. We don't need to do that. So I'm on track, I'm off track every week. If it's off track, goes to the issues list. If you own a rock and I'm curious about what's up, I ask to put it to the issues list, but we don't do an update there. It's not a most important thing. We get that down onto the issues list. Then, people headlines. This is 5 minutes of time to talk about your people, your vendors, your customers, your clients, your employees, probably in the opposite order, right? What are you hearing? What's going on out there? So-and-so is happy. I'm worried so-and-so is going to quit. We hired this person. They're amazing. Hey, has anybody told them that they're amazing? We should probably tell them they're amazing. Put that on the to-do list, right? So-and-so customer, client, vendor is mad at us. Let's get that on the issues list, right? The whole part of the front of this meeting is about filling in your issues list. So what are you hearing from your people? Next piece, this is where accountability is happening. Last week, you solved a bunch of issues. Most of them got solved by becoming a to-do. One of them, for my example, was we're going to go talk to that guy in production. So that's either done or not done. If that was my to-do and it was done, great. If it's not done, it goes back to the issues list. There may be information I need to share from that conversation. So when we get to that to-do, I say done and drop it down to the issues list because I want to talk about it. I don't do my update here and spend 20 minutes updating about something we discussed last week. Drop it down if there's something that needs to happen there. So that's that. Then you get 60 minutes every week with your leadership team. And those of you freaking out about this, you're normal. People always freak out about this 90 minutes a week. Are you kidding me? And what are we going to talk about? You're going to have plenty to talk about. It's going to feel amazing. Many of my clients have come in kicking and screaming about this 90-minute meeting. 100% of the ones that were kicking and screaming now say they wouldn't miss it for anything. They plan their weeks about it, around it, as they should. They miss it. I mean, if your meeting is on a Thursday and you miss Thanksgiving, we don't mess around with rescheduling. They just get back on track the next week. They miss it. It's so valuable because here you are, and what are you doing during this IDS time? You're identifying the most important issues in your business for the week. The most important issues. You're discussing them without a zillion tangents and with the most important people there in the room. And then you're solving it. You're moving forward. You're making decisions. It's so powerful. It's so productive. You get to the point where when you go to these meetings, you like it. When you go to other terrible meetings, you can't stand it. Your skin's crawling. These are valuable, productive meetings. Last piece then is, this is a 90-minute meeting, 85 minutes in. Even if you have more issues left, they'll wait. You stop the meeting because you don't need to be late. You don't need to stay after 3 hours and have a marathon meeting. You've solved the most important issues. You stop and you conclude. And this is what the conclusion looks like. You can see it on there. You recap that to-do list so there's no one in the room saying, what? I didn't know I was supposed to do that. You're also checking, did one person get 40 to-dos and nobody else got any? Is it actually possible that person can do all those to-dos, right? Let's get in reality about this. Then you ask yourselves, are there any cascading messages coming out of this meeting? Did we make decisions people need to know? If you just decided in this meeting that you're going to build a new building, at some point you're going to need to tell people who's going to be the boss of that. Or maybe you're going to be providing a new service. Who's going to tell people, right? We don't want to surprise people. And then the last piece, feedback, 1 through 10. This is where you say, you share around the room, how was this meeting? 10 is amazing. We did a great job. And it's not saying, oh, you person who facilitated or kept track of time, you did great. It's how did we do as a group? 10 is amazing. I honestly don't know what 1 is. I mean, somebody fell asleep, a punch was thrown. I mean, it's a terrible meeting, right? If somebody's late, that's not a 10. That's at least a 9 in my book, if not an 8, right? And you might say, I'm giving this a 9 because even though we had a great meeting, someone was late. This is where you're holding each other accountable to showing up for each other. Really, really powerful. You want it to be a level 10. That's why it's called a level 10. And you want to get to that 10. So those are the tools. I gave you 2 tools for vision, for people, for data, for issues, for process, and for traction. Those are the tools. I hope at this point, I kind of promised it, that you'd be thinking about your business in a different way and that you'd have really practical tools. I could leave you with that, but I can't. So here's my one last piece here. I just gave you tons and tons and tons of information and lots of amazing jokes. Ha, ha, ha. So here, if you're feeling overwhelmed, again, you're normal. Here's what I would say. If there's only one thing you do after this meeting, and I really hope you engage this information, here's my recommendation. One of the things you could choose to do is that VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer, that's on page 4 and 5. And what I would do is not go and say, oh my gosh, this woman is hilarious. She's so amazing. Here's what I decided is on our VTO. She inspired me with her jokes. What I would do instead is schedule several hours with your leadership team, ideally off-site, and sit down and answer those 8 questions together. You can share what was on your mind while we did this here today, but sit down with that leadership team, probably 3 to 7 people at the helm of your business. If you're the only one, great. Go spend some time on your own and do it. But fill that out, get absolutely in agreement about the answers to those questions, and then share them with your people and do those quarterly meetings to keep your people up to date. So that's one tool. If you only do one, do that. Second one, if you don't want to do that VTO, but you feel like as we were talking about the people and right seat, you felt some issues, take your leadership team in a friendly way without HR in there with paper, fire everybody, Control-Alt-Delete your company, and build your accountability chart from the beginning. You know, if you could just start over, what would it look like? Do that. That is so powerful. You start to find inefficiencies and weird things, and oh my gosh, that person has 6 jobs. No wonder they're always running around, right? You start to identify things, but build it. People first, then, I'm sorry, not people first. Structure first, then put the people in. Structure. Don't build it around the people you have. Build it around the future you see for the business. So that's really, again, if you just do one thing, accountability chart might be one. Third option is sit down with your leadership team and build rocks. And then, of course, check in a quarter about the rocks, right? But say, what are the most important things we need to get done around this place, and assign them and write them so they're clear. I should say this, all these tools are available for free on eosworldwide.com. So EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, worldwide.com. You can download the accountability chart. You can download a fresh copy of the VTO. You can see videos about how to do those things, all for free on the website. Or you can buy from that website or from Amazon a copy of the book Traction as well. And that walks you through how to do this work. So rocks, that's the third one. And it will walk you through about how to do rocks, how to build them. Go ahead.
Just a question about rocks.
Yeah.
Are they always tied to your goals? You've got identified goals.
Yep.
And you tie it, those rocks tie to them, and then you record that anywhere that those are connected. So then keep track of that.
I'm going to make up a number. 80% or more of the time, it's a direct 90-day march toward the 1 year. Sometimes it's not. You know, sometimes a rock today is about the 3 year because you realize, oh my gosh, if we're going to be that much bigger, we actually have to start working on a CRM now or something like that. And we don't get too worried about making it clear, connecting it, because when you see, part of the way you build your rocks is you put your 1 year goals and all the issues you have on a wall or on a whiteboard wall, for example. And then you go through a process to say, these are the most important things. So, but not too much. This is low in bureaucracy, low in note taking, that kind of thing. But at the end, you should check and say, are these the right rocks to have us hit our 1 year goal? Yeah, every single time. So yeah. Next one, if you don't do anything else, and if the VTO, the accountability chart, or the rocks don't make sense, start having a weekly meeting with your leaders. Even if you don't have a scorecard yet, put it on the issues list, build one. Even if you don't have rocks, that's okay. Sitting down around a table for 90 minutes every week, checking in with each other and solving your most important issues is insanely effective to get you on track and move you forward. Last tool, if you don't do anything else, build a scorecard and look at it every week with your leadership team. Get absolutely clear together about the 5 to 15 numbers you want to see every week that help you understand if you're on track or off track with the business. In my perfect world, what you would do is dive in and do the whole process. And I know that's a big thing. So that's why I share these 5 tools. I'm also going to say this. I'm just going to add this here. And I know Steve knows how to get a hold of me, but I'm here to help. The name of my business is Family Business Minnesota. What the name of my business really is Family Business I Eat Dinner at Home, but that was taken for some reason, right? Ha ha ha, no it wasn't. So anyway, the point is, I'm here in Minnesota. I have 3 kids. If people are willing to come to me, I'd love to work with them, but I know you have people all around the Midwest who may see this. There are people like me all around the world. If your folks want someone like me to come in and meet with their leadership team and go through a lot of the same stuff, so the leadership team hears it from an outsider and not from you, because if you're anything like me, you go out in the world, you go to a conference, you hear this great thing, and then you come back and you're all excited and you tell people and they're like, oh, that sounds nice. But if an outsider comes in and tells them, they're more excited. I don't know why that works. It works in family too, right? You know, hey, you should read this book. Whatever. A friend recommends it and they can't wait to read it. So maybe you don't live in that family, but anyway, I do. So I'm happy to do that if you're local or to connect you with somebody who is. I would give my time. Any other EOS implementer would give their time just to have you understand it. There's ways to engage with this. You can buy the book for 20 bucks online. You can download these tools for free. It's all available. Those core values on the People Analyzer are us. We help first. We're happy to do that, and we want to do that. We want you to get the benefit of these tools. And so I offer that. I'm happy to connect you or to spend time with your team. Go ahead.
I want you to come over here a little bit so they can hear
your question. Yeah.
Question. So I have a question. You can stand there. Just
okay.
That's okay. Perfect. Thank you. So I have a question from someone who is struggling with the scorecard measures for their department. That they have things on their department in finance, for example, that are, let's say, aging past dues, number of errors reported, number of open positions, and most of these are mostly out of control, out of their department, because they're based upon weekly revenue or gross margin or employee satisfaction, things that they're not in control of, and so they're struggling with those scorecard issues.
Yeah, great question. That came off out of there.
Yeah.
So that is a really amazing question, because that who owns it piece on the scorecard is so important on any scorecard. If finance doesn't own open positions, employee satisfaction, revenue, that's not for them. That's probably for the higher level leaders to be looking at. A great finance scorecard is probably going to have things like, I'm going to make this up, but are you on time with any sort of insurance, workers' comp, payroll, right? What they can control. Are they doing it timely? Are there errors in that material? Are there taxes on time? That's not really a weekly number, so that's a terrible example, actually. Open positions, sometimes finance does own, recruiting and HR, but a much more fruitful number, I would think, in that world would be something like number of new applications that week. I know the employee market is just bonkers. Finance can probably, because of HR, they're in charge of how well are they marketing open positions, and that's probably a number they can control and should be watching, because that's the beginning of the pipeline there. Hopefully that's helpful as far as what are the numbers they actually control, because I agree, revenue, not important to them. I mean, important to them, of course, because when it's good, they keep their job, but they can't control, they can't solve those issues.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Any other questions out from the audience? So I know that I can just kind of get up and kind of close it out.
Do you want the mic?
I'll just come.
Okay.
So I know that from my perspective, I gained a great deal out of this. I think this is something that we can bring many things to, even to our association. And from that perspective, mapping your employees directly to your values, I think is so clear. So in again, not getting people off the bus, but looking at their capacity and then having a real map to integrating what it is that we want to get done by individual. Yeah, I think that was just fascinating. And I already have bi-weekly meetings right now that are 90 minutes. And I think my staff would revolt if all of a sudden I turn it into weekly. So what do you do about that? When your staff, they walk, grudgingly into that meeting, how do you address it?
Yes, that's probably the biggest sticking point. So at a leadership team level, I say commit to the 90 minutes, use this format, because they come in actually energized and then they leave energized from the meetings after you get going on it. And there's videos, go online that walk through exactly how to do it and how to do it well. If you're working with the finance team, let's say, or the operations team, they might not need a whole 90 minutes. At the leadership team level, you do. You really do. But deeper in the organization, 60 minutes might cover it. 45, 35 minutes might cover it. Some people do every other week, not for the leadership team. You got to do it every week. You got to have your pulse on the business. Deeper in the organization, some people do every other week. I personally don't like that, because if you miss a week, now it's a whole month before you see. I'd rather them have shorter meetings every week than longer ones every other. Yeah.
All right. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being on the Finance Executive Council. We're back again on the in May.
On that day in May.
Watch for that. In that day in May, watch for your calendar invite. It's April. April 17th, I think. Something right. Is that okay? Sorry, we have another event coming up in April. I'm sure you'll get a notice about it real soon if you haven't registered for it already. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah,
thank you.
Bet.
It's terrific.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.